For updating the user's password, we need to take a couple of additional steps, because obviously what we need to do is have some kind of protection against people that are already signed in. So if you're already signed into your account and someone else then tries to change your password, it would be helpful if we could check the user's current password. So, you know, when you go ahead and change your password on any website, it'll ask you for your current password. This just makes sense. And this means a little bit more work for us. It means that we have to create another validation rule, so another custom validation rule, which will check this against the password for that user in the database. So what we want to do is, first of all, just build our controller. We're going to create a separate controller for this just to avoid cluttering our auth controller. We're going to create our view, and then we're going to set up our methods. We're going to set up our routes. We'll update our navigation as well when the user's signed in, and then we can tackle all of them other things. So let's sign in just so we can actually see this. Obviously we need to be signed in. Of course, there's no protection against this at the moment because we don't have any middleware set up, so anyone can technically access any of these signed in pages. Either way, let's start to build this out. So alongside our auth controller, we're going to create our password controller. And of course you can stick it in the auth controller if you want, it's entirely up to you. So I'm going to grab the auth controller just to make this a little bit quicker, and I'm going to get rid of all of the methods in here. So let's just save this out. And we will need our validation, so we can keep this namespace import in there. We need this namespace import, and we might need to access the user as well. Well, of course we will, because we're updating the password. So here we just change the name of this, and here we'll say get change password and post change password, like so. And of course we want our request and our response in there. Same for this too. So we need to render our view. So let's start to create our view out. So under auth, I'm going to create a password folder. And in here, I'm just going to create a change.twig file. So in here, we can actually, again, grab this from, say, sign in, because it's pretty similar. We just have two fields instead. So let's start from the top. Let's set this to change password. We don't have our root at the moment, so we'll leave this, but we'll come back to it. We don't need email. We do need password, so we'll leave this one in here as the new password, but we'll have to create a new field in just a moment. And of course, we will change our submit button as well, so change password. So let's set up our root. That makes a lot more sense. Again, let's copy one of these and just go and paste it down here. So we'll say change, or we could say auth password change, auth password change, and here it will be our password controller. And remember, we need to set this in our container as well. So get change password, and here as well, post change password. And we'll call this auth.password.change. So let's just add this to our container. And if you are thinking this is a little bit annoying, like I said earlier, we do have a series on setting up dependency injection. So if you do start to find you have a lot of controllers here and this is getting pretty cluttered, you may want to check out dependency injection. I'd highly recommend you go ahead and have a look at that. It's a bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here though. So we now have our password controller in here. We have our root set up. We have the correct methods, correct controller name, a new URI, and of course we've set a name here. So we can change this on our form now. So this is now auth.password.change, and I think that is pretty good. So let's just render that view out. So let's return this view render, pass in our response, and it's auth password change.twig. So let's see what this looks like. So it's auth password change. There we go. Okay, so now obviously what we need to do is we're going to update our navigation, and we're also going to add that extra field in there. So we can pretty much copy this. We want this one at the top. This is going to be our current password. So current password. And for these, we'll call them password old. So let's just update these here. And we'll say errors password old, and errors password old. So just making this update make sense. So now we have the following. Let's just quickly update our navigation.twig file. So we are able to click on this. So again, it's path for auth.password.change. So if we head over to the home page, we can now click on this. Perfect. So that is our password controller, our methods and our views set up. We've done this stuff before, but we're going to go ahead next and look at how we implement our validation rules, but also implement that custom validation rule as well that we need to be able to check that this matches the current user's password, and then we can show it inline.